I grew up, as you guys know, in the South. I feel like I have a very good sense for how fans are. And I do not think what I'm about to say will ever happen, because the emotion will never totally go away at Ole Miss over this toward Lane Kiffin. But they do owe him a debt of gratitude because he elevated the program. He certainly, while there was some no small degree, and it was not nothing, that the degree of messiness that he exited with caused some collateral damage on the way out for sure, most notably the offensive staff as they go into the postseason. But Ole Miss wasn't this prior to him, and he deserves the credit for that. He also deserves all the scrutiny and critique and criticism for the way he's exiting. And also this hire, let's spin it just a little bit forward with Ole Miss. The hiring of Pete Golding, who wants to be there, who loves Ole Miss, may very well work out. I hope it does. Hope it works out swimmingly for Pete. Wished him well in the playoff. But it does smack of the many emotional, in-the-moment hires when you have something like this that doesn't work out long-term. What do you guys think of the hire? They have no choice right now. He almost had to do it to salvage this season. They had to do it now. But, I mean, like when game day's there, I'm announcing because I'm insisting when game day's there, when Lane Kiffin goes back dressed in purple and gold, Pete Golding's going to be on the other sideline. Whatever happens in the playoffs is going to be a memory, and it's going to be his program. What does this mean for Ole Miss in terms of sustaining the level that Lane Kiffin has gotten them to, in your judgment, Pete?
So interesting threads to be pulled in all this to get to the point. So LSU fired their coach, right? The two dominoes that really led to this saga were LSU and Florida, right? LSU fired their coach, Brian Kelly, paid him. I'm getting all these buyouts mixed up in my head now, but he was $54 million, right? And Florida fired Billy Napier. The two NIL operations that were probably, most scrutinized in the SEC were Florida. Remember Jaden Rashada, they got taken to court. Like, it's hard to argue that thing was like humming, right? And then LSU, Brian Kelly had to give $1 million of his own dollars to like be like, hey, we need some players. Like, it was the 24 roster that they felt like they couldn't compete with other people. So Ole Miss lost their coach because the administration, the Grove Collective, Keith Carter, because they had the best mousetrap in place for player acquisition, right? Like, that is all this chaos is caused by one elite NIL operation and two inferior, right? There's more variables than that, but that to me is one of the big connective tissues. Mark Stoops, great coach, won 10 games in 2021, best coach in Kentucky history. They lag behind. Mark Stoops gets washed out. Now, I'm not saying that's the only reason, but I do think when I reflected back last night after a chaotic Sunday, the connective tissue of all these were, how are you supported, and how could you go? Now, you still got to pick the players. You still got to develop them. You still got to put the scheme in. I can see Rece a little skeptical of my points. I want to hear what he has to say.
No.
And so I think this whole saga was actually a credit to how Ole Miss built the mousetrap. Now, that said, people have had time to catch up, right? You're not going to stay ahead forever. You got to go win in the margins at a place like Ole Miss. Freeze did it with tempo. There's obviously some NCAA violations hanging over. You know what I mean? That's a place that's had to do things a little different, be it schematically, be it off the field, whatever it was. This era was a grand slam for Ole Miss. They capitalized it. They captured it. They had the right coach in place, and they absolutely crushed it. 3 straight 10-win seasons. First ever college football playoff berth. They deserve holistically, president, AD, collective, all the way down, staff, right? Lane put a good staff in place. They went and got Pete Golding from Alabama. They spent on Lane. They were never getting outbid for him. So Ole Miss, I think, is going to end up fine. They are a vast majority of the mousetrap still in place, but you still need the coach, right? You still need the guy to do it. Pete Golding's going to have a shot at that. We'll see what they do in that OC piece. They really have a great opportunity to pitch the future in the playoff. Home game. The world gets to see Oxford. Now, Oxford has hosted big games. Oxford has never hosted a game this big, ever, right? You
got to make sure they're going to.
So do you think that's a thing, Rece? I don't think
it's in the criteria, Pete.
Sure, it's in the criteria.
Now,
but
Hunter Yurachek said initially to me that they wouldn't have a data point to evaluate. But then later in the conference call with more reporters, he backed off of that to a degree to allow them. The short answer is yes, I think so. I think they will. But, I mean, I do think you have to kind of wait and see.
He's not the play caller. I feel like it would be different if he was the play caller. Maybe that's like too inside baseball. But
yeah,
well, they took him.
They took the play caller.
But I think he's yeah.
I mean, that's the thing.
The play caller got on the plane.
Torched this place on the way out. He torched this. I mean, he's torching the place. And so
I'm not advocating for it, Pete. I hope they don't do it. I hope they rank them based on what's happened. This is different from Florida State. We saw Florida State without Jordan Travis, and it wasn't playoff worthy. I'm sorry to stoke that up again. We haven't seen Ole Miss. If Ole Miss had 2 games where they couldn't get a first down, and Lane left before the SEC championship game, had they made it, okay, I'm good with it then. Now it seems like a bridge too far in terms of speculation for me with the playoff. I hope they don't do it.
If they took Trinidad Chambliss, I'd be,
if he left in the middle, that. I hope they let Ole Miss host the game. I think that
I do too.
A couple things here going back. I think how Lane Kiffin will be remembered that game, that playoff game, particularly if it's in Oxford, is going to play a big role in it. If they get smoked, Lane's approval rating will go even lower. Because he built something up and then just pulled the rug out from everyone. And that will be an ugly scene. The biggest Ole Miss fan in the world should be Lane Kiffin on that game, because if this thing goes bad and it's disorganized and he took half the staff and half the play, it's just a mess. He's going to get all the blame for the loss. So that is a big factor in it. I do hope they play. Look, LSU has done this before, and the last time they took a guy was still potentially had playoff possibilities to be their head coach. That school quickly gave a defensive coordinator the opportunity to be the head coach, and I don't think Notre Dame feels bad about it at all. They got the better part of that trade. So I don't know whether Pete Golden's going to do a great job or not, just because I didn't know when Marcus Freeman would. I don't know any of these hires are going to do a good job or not. It's impossible to know. It is a total crapshoot. It's a little like drafting a quarterback in the NFL. Might work out, might not. But I think that this is part of why Lane Kiffin couldn't coach. You have this opportunity for the fans to be excited. And nobody in this sport ever thinks about the fans. I've talked about this before. The way we set everything up is at the convenience of administrators, coaches, and bowl directors and all the other networks, and nobody cares about the fans. Fans need their day to celebrate, come together, enjoy this thing, and potentially get a great victory and have their town and their program showcased and potentially build to the future, because it is a huge night. That is going to be the first round playoff game that has the biggest implications beyond simply who's moving on. What is left of this Ole Miss program? It could be a great celebration. It could be a great launching point. Or it could be an absolute disaster where everybody's turning even more against the guy who isn't there and watching.